Could this happen in your home? A flash fire from a hot water heater. Nearly 2,000 occur every year. A terrifying accident that causes painful injury and the horrible deaths of these children.
I think the lucky ones die.
Chief Correspondent Chris Wallace investigates the water heaters found in 60 million homes. Tonight, learn what you can do to prevent disaster and save lives.
With all the medical marvels, advances in trying to find a cure for cancer, you can't find a safer water heater?
There is an essential household appliance that, even if installed properly, sits like a ticking time bomb in basements, garages, and utility rooms all across the nation. Chief Correspondent Chris Wallace has been looking into disturbing reports about a serious safety problem that experts say has caused too many injuries and claimed too many lives. Chris?
Sam, gas water heaters can be found in 60 million homes around the country. I've got one in my basement. It is, by itself, a safe and reliable appliance. But put it near some common household products, and as we discovered, you've got a deadly combination.
Tip.
It's a household accident that happens hundreds of times every year. A flammable liquid, in this case a quarter gallon of gasoline, spills a few feet from a gas water heater. Watch what happens next. It takes only 15 seconds for this mannequin to be engulfed in flames. Imagine what it would do to a child. The Williams family knows. 2 years ago, it happened to Leslie Williams' 2 daughters.
And I heard Stacy scream. And when I turned around to see why she was screaming, that's when I seen both the kids on fire.
4-year-old Stacy and 2-year-old Brittany had wandered into the basement. Investigators believe one of the children knocked over a container of gasoline, sending out fumes that were ignited by the water heater.
You know, they were like just crying, "Mommy, Mommy," and that's all they kept saying. And I could smell the burning of their skin.
Stacy was badly burned over 40% of her body. Brittany was in even worse condition. She died a few hours later.
I just lost a big part of my life that day. I just felt like my whole life slipped away from me.
Leslie, what killed Brittany and what badly burned Stacy?
A flash fire from the hot water heater.
The numbers are alarming. An estimated 2,000 fires a year, causing more than 300 serious injuries and 17 deaths, all due to flammable liquids set off by gas-fired water heaters.
Gas water heaters are absolutely safe.
Reuben Autry, president of the Gas Appliance Manufacturers Association, says there's nothing wrong with the water heaters. The problem is what people put near them.
You've got to keep gasoline out of your home. You've got to keep it in an approved, sealed container, and you've got to keep it away from children.
Nothing to do with the heater itself.
The water heater is absolutely safe as it operates.
People are immolated. They have no fingers, they have no toes, they often lose their genitals and facial features. I think the lucky ones die.
Joseph Famdy, a former project manager for the Consumer Product Safety Commission, or CPSC, has seen the terrible damage these fires do. But he says the manufacturers have been unwilling to make their water heaters safer.
They have developed in me an opinion that they really don't care about these people being burned up, and that the bucks that they will make will make it worth their while.
I mean, that's really a terrible thing to say.
Well, it's a worse thing for it to be a fact.
Here's how it happens. If you spill a common household product like gasoline, paint thinner, or some cleaning solvents, the flammable vapors are heavier than air and hug the floor. The fumes are then sucked into the air intake for the pilot light and burner here at the bottom and are ignited. The injuries, often to children, can be devastating. But despite tragedies that date back more than 30 years, the manufacturers have kept making these water heaters without any changes. Were you ever warned about any possible dangers from the water heater?
No. Never really thought about it, just a water heater.
In 1987, Diane Reese and her family lived in this housing project in Mobile, Alabama, where a lawnmower left outside would likely be gone in the morning. So the family stored its mower and gasoline in a utility room near the water heater. Her son Raimundo was 4 years old when he knocked over the gas can and was caught in a fire.
All you could see was his little handprints, up on the white wall, where he was trying to get out. It was quite bad.
This is your little 4-year-old baby.
I just prayed and asked the Lord not to take it.
Raimundo suffered third-degree burns over 45% of his body. He has undergone 10 operations so far and faces many more.
This didn't have to happen. It don't have to continue to happen. It's happening over and over again. No one doing anything about it. Nothing.
We wanted to see for ourselves how potentially dangerous water heaters can be. So we hired Hughes Associates, a Baltimore engineering firm that specializes in fire testing. They built a room at Aberdeen Proving Grounds, about the size of a one-car garage or utility room, and they hooked up a gas water heater. Project head Jess Beidel also took the possible dangers seriously, calling in the local fire department and putting us more than 30 feet away. So you're putting us all the way back here?
Correct. We're going to put you behind this 1-inch thick steel plate shield.
We set up TV monitors behind the shield to watch. The mannequin and gas canister are 5 feet from the water heater. The pilot light and burner are on. A quarter gallon of gasoline, what Beidel calls a typical spill, is poured and placed in the room.
We'll do the spill, and then we'll allow whatever happens to happen.
I guess we're ready to go.
Okay.
All right, you give them the word.
Tip.
The pool of gas gets no closer than 2 feet from the water heater, but the invisible fumes are rolling across the floor. 10 seconds go by and still nothing. Suddenly, at 15 seconds, a flash of fire. Good God, look at that. Look at the mannequin here, Jess.
Right. The mannequin is on fire at this point. The clothing and the mannequin itself is on fire.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, if that were a real fire,
The person would be severely injured.
John wouldn't have had a chance. It happens in an instant. The fumes are ignited first. Then the fire races across the pool of gasoline until it envelops the mannequin and the canister in a pillar of fire. How hard would it be to fix this problem?
Not at all.
New Orleans attorney Ed Downing has represented 24 victims of water heater fires, including young Raimundo Reese. In 1991, while testing water heaters, he says his hired experts told him the answer was to raise the appliances above those dangerous fumes. Warning labels on water heaters and some building codes now call for raising them 18 inches off the ground when flammable products are stored nearby. But Downing says few installers are told anything about it. In Louisiana one year, he says 160,000 water heaters were sold, but only 2 18-inch stands.
Basically, there was a safety device out there that no one knew was A, necessary, or B, available.
And were the manufacturers doing anything to alert people, hey, use these stands?
No.
So Downing offered his solution to an industry committee.
At the end of my presentation, the only comments that I really heard were that it was unnecessary for me to bring the photographs of these children to show them.
You mean they were offended that you were showing them the pictures of children burned by their water heaters?
That's right. They didn't think that was necessary.
Again, we decided to see for ourselves what difference raising the water heater would make. We set the appliance on an 18-inch stand.
Tip.
Again, we spilled a quarter gallon of gasoline and waited. At 15 seconds. All right, by this point, you would have had a fire if it were down on the ground.
Correct.
At 6.5 minutes.
Compared to the previous test, you see a major difference.
I mean, this is the difference between that little boy
Being able to get out and not being hurt versus being burned as we saw in the previous test.
We waited more than 15 minutes, then shut down the test.
Cut gas.
Based on similar test results, in 1992, the staff of the Consumer Product Safety Commission asked the manufacturers to change the design of water heaters. Instead, the industry came up with this.
Highly flammable vapors escape into the air.
They spent millions telling the public, especially children, about the dangers of gasoline and open flames, using comic books and Sparky the Fire Dog, but they barely mentioned water heaters. The CPSC staff said the manufacturers still hadn't dealt with the basic design problem.
As an information and education program, it's a good one. It's a superior one. But it's not going to solve the problem, and we told them that.
And when you told them that?
They were aghast that that wouldn't get us off their back for a few years.
So the industry commissioned its own study. There was a fire within seconds every time when the water heater was on the floor. When they elevated it, sometimes there was no fire. But in other tests, they spilled more gasoline and fanned the fumes with a cutout of a person. According to the industry, the study showed that even at 18 inches, eventually there was a fire. What human being in any realistic circumstance would walk back and forth for 18 minutes in a big gasoline spill?
The individual who believed that because he had raised his water heater 18 inches off the floor, it could not ignite it. If you raised it and told people that solved the problem, you would give them a false sense of security.
They were trying to show that raising the gas heater wouldn't solve the problem.
Fandy and the CPSC staff concluded the industry had skewed the test to get the results it wanted and would not make design changes on its own. The staff proposed that the Consumer Product Safety Commission get tough.
I came to the firm belief that the industry would not do anything significant unless they were forced.
But the commissioners decided to cooperate with the manufacturers rather than force them to find a design fix. In the 21 months since, the industry has built this test facility in Massachusetts, but has come up with no solutions. With all the medical marvels, advances in trying to find a cure for cancer, putting men into space, you've been working for almost 2 years and you haven't found an answer?
Chris, I'm telling you that the technology that has been exposed, has been tested, it fails.
If they really want to solve it, they could solve it today.
Fandy, who retired from the CPSC 2 years ago, now testifies as an expert against the manufacturers. He says they've made a bottom-line decision, that even at a few dollars a unit, it will cost more to fix the 60 million water heaters now in people's homes than to pay off in a few lawsuits.
The awards that were being handed out against them were 5 to 10 to 15 million, but there weren't that many awards. Economically, it made sense to them to let these kids burn up and take their chances in court.
CPSC Chairman Ann Brown declined to be interviewed, but in a written statement said she is pleased with the progress being made by the industry. But don't talk about progress to victims like Willie Perez.
A ball of fire raced across the floor, and I was like a human torch on fire.
In 1987, Perez, who was then a computer repairman from New Orleans, was 20 feet away from the water heater, fixing a fuel leak under his truck when he was trapped in a fire.
I would like to just ask them once to put themselves in my shoes and to think about what it's done to my life and others like me, and to ask them how much is a person's life worth.